Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics, and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I've heard a lot of different stories about betrayal, but I never even thought that I might find myself in the same situation. I still can't figure out how it happened. My salary seems decent and my wife has never needed anything. We often went on vacation to the ocean. In principle, we had very good sex, but at least that's what it seemed to me. As a result, my wife cheated. What is the root of my bad luck? There were often random meetings or conversations in my life that could radically change my life. Thanks to these chance meetings, I had a good position and useful connections. Something similar happened this time. I was carelessly strolling around the city during my lunch break to unload my brain. I accidentally turned my head towards the nearest restaurant. What did I see there? Of course, you guessed it. It was my favorite girl. She was standing there with her ex-boyfriend. At that moment, the ground went out from under my feet. I even got a fog in my eyes from the surging emotions. After 5 seconds, I pulled myself together and decided not to get excited. I thought that I should wait until the evening and resolve the issue once and for all. Somehow I got to my office and started waiting for the end of the working day. During a short time, I've completely calmed my nerves. After all, I had a serious conversation ahead of me. I had to start somewhere, but I didn't know what to do in such cases. I could immediately accuse spouse of cheating, but suddenly she accidentally met her ex-boyfriend in a restaurant. Although what could she be doing in this restaurant on the other side of the city? In general, I had a lot of questions and I had to find the optimal, correct solution in order to find out the whole truth. My working day has finally come to an end. I got into my car and drove slowly to the house, thinking about the situation. I didn't even notice how I had come a long way and ended up near my house. I sat in the car in complete silence for 5 minutes and then headed home. My wife rushed into my arms from the doorway. She always did this, but as I now understand it, in order to create an atmosphere of a prosperous family. I pulled away from her a little and went into the kitchen. Then I sat down at the dining table and asked my wife to make me coffee. I did everything as usual after a day at the office. She complied with my request as if nothing had happened. At that moment, I asked how she had spent her day. Her eye didn't even twitch after the question. She calmly lied to me that she went for a walk with her friends and bought herself a pair of new blouses. It is necessary to be able to lie so brazenly in the eyes and not blush. At that moment, it occurred to me that I needed to collect evidence and then charge my wife. Revenge is a dish that should be served cold. The next morning, I went outside unnoticed. I took the keys to her car in advance and then installed a DVR in a hidden place. I thought the video was the truest proof. Then, as if nothing had happened, I had breakfast with my wife and went to work. I lived in such a tense rhythm for 3 days. As luck would have it, there was a blockage at work, and I almost forgot about the situation with my wife. But then, the long-awaited weekend came and I decided to check the recordings from the DVR. With shaking hands, I started watching. As I expected, my worst fears were confirmed. My wife cheated on me. Besides dating, she also had sex in the car that I gave her for her birthday. I also heard my wife talking to her girlfriend. She told her how she had sex with 2 colleagues from work at another corporate party. I was stunned by what I heard and saw, as it turned out that my wife regularly cheated on me. I was an idiot and didn't even notice anything. But now I had no doubts about my wife. There was only one question in front of me. What should I do with her now? I had no desire to live with her, but it was necessary to make her regret what she had done. I decided to make a plan for further action. Now she's going to get what she deserves, and I'm going to have a good time. The next day, I took a day off from work. After that, I went to the neighboring provincial town where my wife's father lived. I would like to tell you a little about this man. He was a former colonel who gave his whole life to his homeland. It wasn't just empty words, it was reality. This man gave his all for the good of his country. I crossed paths with him quite often, most often when I was caring for his daughter, my future wife. In general, we visited him very often. The colonel may have thought that he had given his daughter in marriage as a virgin, because he was very strict and would not let his daughter go anywhere. Studying and home are all her entertainment. That's probably why she started making up for lost time in life. In general, I decided to carry out my retribution from this direction. I knew perfectly well that if her father found out what his beautiful daughter had done, he'll probably shoot her with a hunting rifle. Of course, maybe I'm exaggerating. But if she was present at the very moment when I told him everything, he probably would have done so. Initially, the colonel fell into a stupor for a couple of minutes. I even began to worry a little about his health. After all, age can make itself felt. But this military man turned out to be tougher than I thought. He looked at me and silently poured himself a full glass of whiskey, then emptied it in one gulp. After that, he did this trick twice more. Then he got up and went into the next room. At that moment, I realized that it was time to leave because the necessary information had been conveyed. The inevitable consequences definitely should not have been long in coming. After all, my wife will have to go back somewhere when I kick her out of my house. Thank God we haven't had any children yet. I got into my car and drove home calmly. I want to reassure everyone right away that nothing terrible or bloodthirsty happened to my wife. I got in my house and calmly packed up all my ex-wife's things and threw them out the door. I want to note this important fact that my wife was watching all the actions. She didn't even twitch because she understood everything from my cold look. I did not make scandals because I understood that it was not me who was important to my wife, but my bank account. Everything that I gave her for a comfortable life was important to her. This is a comfortable existence, a trip to the ocean, shopping trips with friends, and so on now. In an instant, all this will disappear for her. After all, as a certified lawyer, I was worried about the conclusion of our marriage contract. Therefore, my wife will lose everything she has used for many years. This is the real and most cruel punishment for her. Well, I'll tell you finally, a year later, I met a friend of my ex-wife. After that, I asked about the fate of my ex-wife. She told me that almost everyone stopped communicating with my wife. Her father also kicked her out of the house and stopped communicating with her. At the moment, she is living in a civil marriage with some kind of drug addict on the outskirts of the city. She often complained that I was the one who ruined her life. That's how it happens, friends. By the way, I started a new life and found a suitable soulmate. Everything has improved in my life, which I wish to everyone who is in a similar situation. If you like the story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to avoid missing new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. By tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. I am very glad that your story ended well for you. Your wife will regret her actions for a very long time. I'm glad your wife got what she deserved. I think every person who has been betrayed should get a new life. But the one who betrayed must receive his punishment. I want every man to understand that cheating is not the end of life. It's just the beginning of a new journey. The new life will be much more interesting and brighter if, of course, you takes into account your mistakes of the past. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.